I think it's on. Can you hear me? We should be live. It looks like we're live. I'm sure
Welcome.
somebody will let us know if we're live or not.
I'm excited to be here today to talk software development.
It's going to be wonderful. It's a great time to be a software developer.
Today I will be discussing some of the latest trends and technologies.
Really?
Well, at least in Spring Boot.
Okay. I like that. Wow. We do it. We have quite a few people joining already.
I
That's
hope
awesome.
you enjoy this stream and find it informative.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Before we dive in, let's introduce ourselves.
That sounds like a great idea. What is your name?
My name is Mario Gray, and I've been working as a software developer for at least 20 years. Good Lord.
Wow.
My colleague, DaShaun here, is also a software developer of like 30, 50, or 100 years of experience. If that's okay.
We've been around for a little while.
Together, we have a wealth of knowledge to share with you today.
Wow, I'm excited. I'm excited. This is Code. This is a weekly show, or hopefully we'll get it to weekly. It's been on a little bit of a hiatus for a while, but we're glad we're bringing it back for 2023. And yeah, welcome back. It's going to be fun. What we're going to do on this show is we're going to get into code. That's pretty much it. We're going to get into code, and today we're trying some new stuff. Again, we're getting the dust off, and we're building stuff. We're going to try some cool things. One of the things we are going to do is we're going to pair. We're going to use IntelliJ, and we're going to do Code with Me. So we're all going to work from the same IDE, and we're going to go. So I think that's it. Well, anything else that we want to say to get started?
Thanks for joining the stream today. I hope you find it informative and enjoyable so far.
I think it's going to be awesome. I'll give a little bit of background. Let's do.
Why was Java developer so upset?
Why?
Because he didn't have any null pointers. What did the Java code say to the C code?
What's that?
You've got no class.
You got no class. That's silly.
Why?
We got
classes.
We got a little group coming in. Look at this from all over the world joining. So
hello.
Yeah, let's go. Let's kind of jump in. I'm gonna level set. Here's where we're at. Hey, we said welcome back. Here's what we're doing. I have this CLI that I use to do stuff for the shows that we push out. And I've made that, and I've talked about it on our other Spring office hours. That's where it started. And one of the problems that I ran into is I need this fast. I want to use the new stuff with Spring Boot 3 and Spring Framework 6. I want it to be native. And one of the problems I ran into is the image processing was preventing me from running this CLI on Mac because there's a problem with Mac and how it packages the AWT library, or how it doesn't package the AWT libraries. So we're going to pull that out, and we're going to take that image processing, and we're going to make it a service, a RESTful service that we can get consistent results from. And that's where we're at. Along the way, we're going to just talk about what it means. What are some of the patterns that we use with Spring? And yeah, we're just going to pull from these other projects, and we're going to try to improve it, and we're going to code together along the way.
So let me reiterate very easily. It says that you want to make this an application that's packageable, but for some reason, currently Java, the build system will not package AWT. So it's like, okay, well, rather than making it an image that somebody can then deploy to their Docker in their workflow, why don't we just expose a web service and let people call that web service to do the same thing, really?
Yep.
Which is, hey, let's process some images and then give me the output.
Yeah, the other part of that is those images might change, right? These are our brand images. So actually, let me jump in it. So this is the CLI. We're not going to worry about the stuff in the green. We're going to worry about this, like a service that's going to deliver these brand images for us. And then, yeah, let's jump into what that might look like. So for this other show, Spring Office Hours, which is normally on Tuesdays, we have this brand image. If you've been on the show, you'll recognize it. And what we do when we set out a new show is we normally say, hey, episode number down at the bottom, and then we add some text. Before we had the CLI, we were kind of doing that. Hey, open up Adobe and let's fill it in and save it and go. But we don't want to do that every week, right? It's trivial-ish, but I think that this community, I think that you that are here, you have problems that might seem trivial, but if there's hundreds of people doing it, thousands of times a day or a week, then maybe it's worth the time. So we're going to simplify this, and it's not very good.
I like the idea of a REST service because it, removes the onus of the person developing the going through the workflow from having to deal with any inconsistencies.
Some of the other things that we can do here is like if the brand changes, I don't have to repackage that CLI. Like if we do an update of this image, I don't have to repackage that CLI and give it to everybody because those will be deployed. Those images are the ones that you'll get when you call that service. You'll get the latest and greatest brand images with all the brand stuff. Plus, I'm not packaging those images or fonts in that CLI, which is going to make my CLI a little bit smaller, a little bit easier to get out the door. So it's going to serve a couple of purposes that I didn't really think about before. I'm just trying to solve that one problem of I want that native CLI for everybody on the team that's doing something like this. And we're going to solve that problem by making it a RESTful service.
Me too.
So again, we're getting hello, everybody. We appreciate you joining. I think what I did when I was watching Mario and Mark and Josh and everybody do these sessions, I always liked having this on a separate window. I was doing it passively. I was always co-working during these sessions, and I would listen though. I would listen like, oh, you know what? They're writing their tests this way. Am I doing that? And I would kind of double check. It always felt like I had this kind of teammate, especially in this mode where a lot of us are working remote. I liked having friendly faces, smart people on that other screen. Not saying I'm a friendly face or smart people. I like the others that have done this before me. I liked having them in the background or working next to me, and I was listening. And I've watched some of the episodes multiple times.
Do you like writing tests?
I am comfortable writing tests. I feel guilty if I don't have some tests that at least give me some confidence that this is going in the right direction.
I find writing tests as like putting tests first kind of reminds me of moving in with a guy and having to do the dishes every day or learning how to share chores, because I find that tests ultimately take up like the gamut of my developer time, but I'm so much more confident in the code that I produce in production after I've done all those, after I've washed the dishes, after I've done my tests.
I will say this.
Congratulate you on doing some testing.
I will say this. I have never really been one to say, hey, my code is awesome and it's going to stand the test of time. I've never been that person, but I have enjoyed having tests around my maybe quickly done code. If I've got those tests around whatever it looks like, if it works and my tests work, ship it. I have been that person where it might not be the prettiest, it might not be the most, or maybe it's too verbose, but it works and it's got validation here.
Hey, it's elegant only if you say it's elegant, okay? Tests are part of it. And if it's ill formatted, who cares? It still is tested and it's still been proven. And that's, to me, that's elegant. If you want elegance, if you want pure elegance, go write some Lisp.
There you go. So let's get into it. Again, this is code. We're going to go. Everybody, thanks for joining. I will set the stage one more time. We're rebuilding this. We're pulling apart this other CLI that I had that had some problems with the AWT library is not working on Mac. My buddy Dan, who's here, he's on a Mac. I want him to go and be able to use this CLI that I've made. I want him to be able to use it and have the experience that I expect him to have, that he wants to have. So we're pulling this image processing piece out, tiny little image processing piece. We're pulling it out and we're putting it into the service. So
very nice.
Again, we're doing this shared IDE. I did a little bit of stuff. We've been sitting here talking about it before, but we haven't gone through this. This is, you get to hear how we're operating. You get to hear how we think about things. We're pairing. We're going to do it live. And I think there's a lot of value in that. I think there's a lot of value in, I don't know how to do this. Here's how I go about solving a problem. I find in some of the talks that we go to at conferences, I find that I learn the most when they run into problems. And I'm going to say, Mario, not trying to throw you under the bus, but there was a particular talk where things didn't work. The demo didn't work. And you said, you know what? Let's figure this out. And you started thinking out loud and explaining, this is where I start. This is working. Now let's go to the next thing. Okay, this is working. Now let's go to the next thing. Look, here's how I found the problem. I didn't know exactly where it was, but you took us through the steps of where the problem was. And then now your demo works and you finish it up and everybody's clapping because it was amazing. I learned that way. I find those types of things really valuable at this point in my career. So that's what we're going to try to do. That's what I want to share with you. I hope that you find it valuable too. And yeah, I love that we've got this community of people that have continued to come in and join. This is a slightly different format than what we do in Spring Office Hours, but I hope you enjoy it, and we'll be looking for feedback. So before the show, this is what we did. We went out and we went to start.spring.io. I should be able to switch over to that. This is what I grabbed. This is our package. This is the actual screen that I need a Spring Web, Spring REST docs, and Spring Boot actuator. If I'm building a service that I'm going to deploy somewhere, I'm always going to have that Spring Boot actuator on there. And the point that I'm at today is the difference between just having an API endpoint and having one with documentation is like this much. So let's show that part. So that's why I'm adding that. I would feel guilty having something simple out there without having the documentation that I'm delivering. Again, I want our whole team to be able to use this. It's easy, but I think it'll map to a lot of the things that the community faces.
I like the fact that you add Spring Actuator in, because that's a very production-worthy addition. You know, when somebody deploys it, they need to be able to see what it's doing and kind of troubleshoot it as well.
Yeah. So we're doing development. We don't need to see this picture. That's the picture that we're going to base things off of. We have our font in there. So these are the things I'm putting into the service that we're going to use. The first thing I did, I changed the names that come out of the initializer. I replace them with application. And I do that because I have other CLIs. I have other systems that are looking for the application class and the application test class to do some interesting things. But that's just one of those, that's part of my pattern. The next thing I did was I added an image controller. And I started off by making this template, like, hey, I'm going to go grab this file. This is one way of doing it. And I renamed it. So I'm actually, let's go here. I'll leave that there. I changed it. I renamed it because this file, what it was doing was it was giving me that byte array, but I didn't know anything about that byte array. I didn't know, like, is it a JPG? Is it a PNG? Is it a GIF? I didn't know. So that's why I changed. I got rid of this one. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that.
Cool.
And then, hey, here's blank. And what I've done on this endpoint is I'm telling you the media type. I'm giving it as a streaming response body. I'm giving you the media type. I'm telling you the actual file name and how big it is. And that's going to help, hopefully. So cool. Let's just build it. I'll kill this other run. I'm going to do nvnw clean Spring Boot run. It's going to be running on 8080. Cool. I'm up. I can go. We talked about the actuator. I'm using HTTP my local host, actuator health. Cool. It's telling me I'm up and running. Let's keep that up. And then I have this blank that we're going to test real quick. HTTP actuator, nope. Blank. So it's going to say, hey, cool. I got that thing. I see what you did here. You can see that I've got my content disposition, my header that I passed in, the content length. Hopefully that matches this size. Hopefully they're the same size. How do I find that? So. How do I find the file size of that? Let's do ls source main resources. Cool. Is that the same number? Oh, that makes me feel good. So there's something that we can validate. Like, hey, my service is working. The content length is what I expect. Here's a good question. Is it possible to move the console up because we're hiding the output? Yes. Thank you for reminding me. What I will do, I could move it up, but then you're going to see the back of the screen. What's a good way to do that? Well, maybe we'll address that, but I'll do it this way. All right, can I move it over to the side? Maybe that'll be a better. So like, let's move over here. So it'll be side by side. That's fine. We can hide it.
That sounds cool for now.
Right? Hopefully that's a little bit easier.
Compromise, yeah.
So let's just run that again. Like, cool, I got it. But it says, hey, we're not showing you what that looks like. I'm going to remove this blank that was already sitting there. And I'm going to run it again. It doesn't generate, I don't think. Nope. So what we do with HTTP is we do that same command, and we're just going to output it to blank .png. And I remember it's called blank.png because the content told me that's what it's supposed to be called. I could output it to whatever I need.
Cool.
So now I have this file blank, but that's the one that I got from the endpoint. Cool. So far.
Okay. So this will give us a blank image. That image right there is the output of a get to the controller endpoint you created here.
Yes.
Very good.
So here's where we're at. Like this is we've level set. We've kind of set expectations. Like this is what we're doing, and this is how we develop. So now I want to do the next step. So I'm going to kill this, and I'm going to jump over to code. The tests. I want to create these tests. I get this one out of the box. We may or may not need it. We can argue that later. And I've copied this piece from another repository. I'll put those repositories. They're on my GitHub. One of them is github.com DaShaun simple REST docs.
Can we lift this out and refactor it into?
Absolutely. You can drive. I will. You can drive on the IDE, and I will put some. Are you still connected to the IDE?
I hope I am. I'm connected to your Spring Office Hours image service.
Yeah. So you can drive.
Yep.
And I'm gonna add this other.
I want to move it. Okay. We'll just create a new class.
Which file are you in?
I'm in your application tests.java.
Okay, there I see your mouse. Sweet.
Did you get that new file I just created?
Maybe. Where did you create it?
And TV Tanzu service brand Spring Office Hours.image package.
I don't see it.
Yeah, it's not. I didn't see it either. Well, just right click on web layer tests, and then you should be able to extract it.
The refactor this?
Yeah. Extract, yeah. So I guess I would just move that class into the same package, but not underneath application tests.
Oh, gotcha. Wait, what's the easy way to do that with IntelliJ?
You can also, I think you can just drag and drop even that test on the project panel on the left, and then put it into the package. Yeah, there we go.
Done.
Yay.
All right, so we did that. I'm still grabbing this other repo. Please hold. It was like Spring Office Hours.
Okay, where are we? Application tests? Okay. Let's clean up some imports.
Yeah, you do that. Open that up. I will also add, it's code, we're live, it's interactive. If you got questions along the way, throw them out there. You got comments, you got feedback. I want to know where you're at. I want to hear what's happening.
Okay, so what is our next?
I'm pushing this other one. These are the projects, that we're copying and pasting from.
Yeah.
I set the stage that I'm just trying to improve one of the other projects that I've built along the way. So yeah, this is where we're copying and pasting from. If you've got any questions, you can follow along. You can play along.
I'm following along.
So
here coding.
Now we've got this web layer test. We're going to have one that should return image or cool. I call this blank endpoint.
Yep.
Yeah, I want that status to be okay. I'm not expecting a string.
Yeah.
What I am expecting is, remember we saw the
content type, media type.
Yeah, content type of media type dot PNG, right?
Image PNG value. Yeah.
Cool. And what else do we know about it? What else do we expect?
I think that's good.
It was the content, the length, right?
Uh-huh.
Content.
Well, without validating the file that you have there, then you wouldn't want to put the length, because you would have to know in advance what the length of that file is and it could change, and you would have to change the test when you change the file.
So this blank, the last part here, this is where we're getting into the Spring REST docs. So by calling mock MVC here, by doing this perform, this command, this document, let's jump into that.
What package does that come from?
Right here, mock MVC REST documentation.
Yeah.
This is coming from the REST docs. So let's jump over here. Remember, we added that at the start. We got this test package here. We're using ASCII Doctor. And yeah, that's part of our plugin to do this. So let's go back to our test. This is what I expect. I'm not going to call it greeting. Let's call this one blank.
There you go.
Over here and
wait, can we rename that to template, to /template? That way it sounds more appropriate for the thing that we're getting.
We can. Easy peasy.
Easy peasy.
Template. So there's the change. I want to do it over here as well. Template.
I'm going to change the controller. Oh, you already changed the controller.
Yep.
Okay. I'll change the controller name.
And the document part here. This is saying, hey, I'm going to create some snippets called template. And let's see what that does. Let's just see what that does. We have a test that goes, it hits /template using mock MVC and the mock MVC REST documentation. We expect that we're going to get an okay result, again, just like we would. We expect that we're going to get some image PNG content type back, and we want to capture that. We want to document that step. We want to document that process. So let's go over here. And let's
so the documentation is based on the performance of mock MVC actions. So for instance, the expect status is okay and the expect content type. Those are the things that will be documented in a way. So when we see the output, for instance, the response body, it's going to show us the media type, right? And it's going to show us the status code, right? But it won't go any further than that.
So I just did a Maven clean package to run all my tests and do all this stuff. I don't have the phases, the build phases memorized, so I'm just going to do it all.
Clean packages should invoke the ASCII Doctor, yeah.
And now over here, what we're going to see is, remember I said that generated snippets. That's what we got. When we did this document,
there we are.
All we were doing there was creating the snippet. And what that looks like, this is what it looks like. I have a curl request. This is what it looks like if you call that with a curl. I'm just giving you the command so you can do it from the CLI. I'm documenting what this API looks like. And here's an HTTP request using HTTP, just like we've been doing. Here's what the response is going to look like. Hey, look, that response, it has the actual bytes in it. So we could validate that I get the actual image if we wanted to do a comparison.
Okay, so it gives us the whole output here.
Yep.
And that's the document is essentially the request and response itself rather than what you asked for in the test.
So I've got the
request
and the response for how to call this. So using HTTP, and then I've got the request body, which we didn't pass anything in, and then there's a response body, the actual binary, the byte array. But now we're going to take it one step further. I want that to be a part of my document. Now, the cool thing about what we're doing right now is I have the ASCII Doctor plugin for IDE or for IntelliJ. So it knows like, hey, for this operation, go grab the template snippet from my target directory, and it's just plugging it in. This is what my documentation looks like right now. I have one file that I formatted. I can put whatever I want over here. And this is what it looks like. So out of the box, default, I haven't done a whole lot. I ran the test.
Okay, so this is
capture the request for response for a couple different ways. And I did operation here. I can modify that. Let's go to the documentation.
What does that do?
I'm going to show that operation is all of the snippets that it generated, but I don't have to do it that way. So I'm going to go to the latest, greatest docs.
Can you share that link?
Yeah. Great idea. Well, go to latest and greatest docs, and I'm going to scoot down. I know what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that in the document. I'm looking for that colon part. The part that tells ASCII Doctor, hey, we're going to use this. I should have an example. Okay, we did using the snippets. That's where I want to be. This. So I can just include, if I want to document it using curl, I can do it that way. If I want to document it using HTTP, I can do it that way. I've chosen to give all the options for this simple case. I don't know if you've got curl installed. I don't know if you've got HTTP installed. So I'm just going to share them all. So I changed that include in snippets to just say, hey, I just want them all. So let's just change that. I can do the same thing. I'm just going to show it side by side. You can say, thanks. Snippets, not index. Our snippet is called template, and there's a curl request ADOC. We can see it right here. So now, now I can see that, hey, I've got all the things, and if I scroll down a little bit further, once I get past that binary output, right? Maybe I don't want that, especially for this service. Maybe I don't want the bits output.
Yeah,
that's a lot of binary.
That's a lot of bits
somewhere in there. Hey, here's our other one. Oh no, that's just HTTP. We got to go all the way down to the bottom. You know what? Let's do this. Let's get rid of that because who wants to do that all day? We're just going to show the HTTP request. There. So we took out the show all the things. We don't want that byte array in our documents. We'll figure out how to modify that byte array so that it doesn't show the byte array. Maybe we can just show the content disposition, content type, file name, etc. So now what we're doing is we are documenting our application. It's actually using our tests to create this content. I've stubbed like, hey, this is the part that we're going to do. And I said, hey, now make a document. And that's all kind of taken care of for us. So the extra steps that we took to go from just having a controller that works to adding a test, this is what we did. It's this amount of code with a couple of annotations. We don't even need that. We didn't add a whole lot. And that's where I'm at today, is like the value that I get from adding this much code, taking it this much further and getting documentation. That's where I want to be.
Wow.
So should we keep on going?
So let's see. I'm asking our friend ChatGPT here, and it's telling me that if I want to ignore the content, I can use the ignore method on the content modifying operation processor.
This is a great question here. They're asking about the auto-wired and explaining why auto-wired in components like controllers makes them harder to test. So,
well, that's true in production. In tests, it's fine, but you can go ahead and fill in how tests. Usually in tests, I would say it doesn't matter, but for most people, they probably want to stick with constructor injection. And in production, we definitely want to use constructor injection just for readability, and also like side effects. Testing auto-wired components is a little. It can introduce a variability later on.
Yep. So this idea of what we're doing, you see that we call this our web layer test. Do I want to have to install all the things in my application context in order to get something to work? If I've made everything auto-wired and I haven't separated things out, I can get to that place where the only option I have is to deploy all the things and plug in all of the auto-wired things. And it prevents me from injecting the type of thing that I want to use, that implementation of the thing. I get to do that when I have that auto-wired gone and I'm using the constructor injection. And I'll also say that Dan has a great video on the differences. So I'm going to point you to that here, or maybe Dan, if he's still on, maybe he'll point you to that video in the chat. But great question. Keep them coming. Let's go on. So this one right here, I don't even think we need it. Not right now. Again, I was copying. I put those links already in the chat. So let's just keep on going. I'm glad that that worked. Yes, keep the questions coming. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to the next one. Right. So, hey, we got this blank image that didn't do a whole lot for us. The next thing I want to do is, I'll jump over here. I want to have an image. I want to get back an image that has the text overlaid onto the image. So let's do that and point next. Should we do the test first, or should we do the endpoint?
It depends. You can do the test first, and then the test will fail, and then we can make the test pass.
So let's do that. I'm going to do this now because it's an image. I'm not going to go into that today. I'm not going to go into validating that the image looks exactly right and pixel perfect. I'm not going to do that today. But this one, it should return not a template image, nice image for Spring Office Hours. So, and I'm saying for Spring Office Hours because we'll add on to this and we'll make this for code. Our show today had your beautiful face on it, and this is where you can find all of our shows, like that image. Those are all generated already, but we don't have a title in that image. Wouldn't it be nice if we showed what we were talking about, Spring REST docs and Spring Boot 3? Wouldn't it be nice if that was on that image? We're going to make that happen. with this service. We're going to make it easy to do that and still stay on brand for the show. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to go, this one, we want to return to customized image for Spring Office Hours. Should our endpoints be different for the different shows, or should the show be something that we pass in?
I mean, yeah. So what you're saying is, do you want to parameterize the show?
Maybe. So the question here is, how do we deploy? Maybe this endpoint, I'm going to go back here. Maybe this endpoint is just for Spring Office Hours. And maybe the others will have their own modules or instances that we deploy. So we'll come back to that. But for now.
For now, it could be static. I mean, you could just say, oh, I'm expecting Spring Office Hours currently.
Yep. So
I would imagine to do like the show, you would have some sort of state store,
right,
for the show number or whatever that is. Deploying a REST application like this, you should be able to deploy it by specifying the show in the startup parameters.
There you go.
Unless you want it to be a long-running service, then you have to parameterize it at the REST endpoint.
Yep. Here we go. It says, when I want to retrieve an image from database, I'm getting binary instead of getting an image, and I'm using string image. I
think that will be a byte array usually.
Yeah, usually it's going to be a byte array, and we'll show that here in just a sec. Looks like we're doing all right. We'll jump over to that. I'm going to write this test first. Hey, when I call this blog endpoint, or maybe I'll do custom endpoint, and we want this to be custom. We want to fill in our documentation for that custom. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to say, hey, this is a assembly file. Yeah. File. And this is custom. But this one, we got to pass in what we want on there. We've got to pass in some data. That doesn't exist
currently.
All right, so our test is going to fail, right? Because that doesn't exist.
Cool.
Do we need to show that? Oop.
I mean, you could just run the test here and it's going to fail.
Yeah, I don't need to go over there. I gotta say, are you working?
So I asked our friend ChatGPT, who says, good Lord, he's giving me some text. He's giving me some code.
Let's do that. Let's go in. So this, I don't know if you guys are watching, but ChatGPT has been pretty popular lately. There's a question over here. Hey, how did the index ADoc show up? Great question. I kind of skipped over that part. I just created it. The plugin that we use, the ASCII Doctor plugin, knows that that's where it's going to go look for its documentation, is in source main ASCII doc. So I just copied that from another example, but I can put whatever I want in there. But you bring up a good point. Maybe that's an opportunity to create a starter that says, hey, yeah, let me go and let me give you one of those sample docs in the right place, because we ran into some problems. We're going to be transparent. There's a Tanzu Developer Center. There's a guide for Spring REST docs. Maybe just pull that up. And we're running into some problems. We noticed that it's maybe not usable. It's not configured the way we want you to do things with the latest and greatest. I'm going over here to my guides on Tanzu Developer Center. And I'm going to look for, where is it? Do you remember where that one is? It was a
particular link. Mm-hmm. Using Spring REST docs.
Oh, here it is. Using Spring REST docs.
There.
We looked at this last night and we noticed, yeah, first of all, we're using older releases. We want you to be on the latest and greatest. So we're going to update this guide when we're done. And we'll give you the latest and greatest from the things that we learned. So that index ADoc, I made it. It's ASCII doc. It can be marked down. We're going to stick with ASCII doc. That's how it got there. So hopefully that helped. But this guide exists, and one of the outputs from the show is we're going to update it, and we'll do that offline after the show. So stay tuned for that.
So you're gonna think this is funny, but I'm pretty sure that at this point we can just let ChatGPT run the whole thing.
Maybe that'd be fine. So yeah, let's go back to that.
Get closer every day. How about every show we do, we get closer to just having an AI run the show.
That sounds great. I'm going to close up these files. Boop, boop, boop. Close. Is there any other questions? Which approach is better and why? Writing the open API spec first, then using Maven plugin to generate server stubs, using Spring Docs by writing controllers and tests. That is a great question. And it's actually a question that I've struggled with. If you've been at the Spring office hours, I've mentioned it many, many times. Open API, that spec is out there, it's around, but it's limiting. I've done a lot more than just REST. I can do, I have more flexibility in the documentation that I create. And one of the other options that I have is I can actually go, and there's a plugin that hasn't been upgraded for Spring Boot 3 yet, but there's a plugin that can go in and inspect my controllers and say, hey, here's the endpoints that are being exposed, and here's your open API spec. We can actually do that as well. And there's also one that works with REST docs to provide that same open API spec from your REST docs. So there's options. Those libraries haven't been upgraded for Spring Boot. I didn't have time to upgrade them myself, but I'll put links to those in the show notes afterwards.
The Spring REST docs seems to be something you want to use when you're specifically looking for a testing approach. That is, you're writing your tests first, you're validating the production does what the test does, and then having a document as the output of that.
The document as the output of your tests. This is the biggest reason why I lean into this approach, because I know when I push things out, when I'm taking this version 0.1 to production, I know that the documentation that I deliver with that matches what's actually happening in the code. I know that because this is the process. I call it the other TDD, test-driven documentation. This is why I like this approach better. It's because I have that confidence that we talked about at the beginning, that my tests are creating the documentation, my tests are passing, right? Like, hey, nothing got pushed out without my passing test, and I have that documentation going out with my code. So that's why I lean into this approach.
And that is nifty. That is, like, if you're not already using Open API and Swagger and things like that, then this is a very easy way of ensuring you have tests and documentation at the same time. So consider that as well, the friction to usage.
So we talked about, hey, here's the index ADoc. Well, that was just our template. The plugin is what's going and looking at our generated snippets to fill in the blanks. But we also have it generating our documentation. This is what the generated documentation looks like. It gives us HTML that we can then package with our app or in some central repository. If your pipeline knows you've got a consistent way of delivering your documentation, your pipeline can pull those into your API catalog, for example, along with your open API spec. But having that documentation match the code that's going to production is an important part.
Well, I have a question. Is it possible to modify the output HTML?
Yes. So I was thinking that is something we could go into much deeper, but you can customize all the things, right? I can plug in, I can put whatever I want here. You have different styles that you can do. You can modify how things look. I haven't gone deep into that, but yeah, you can modify that output to match whatever you need.
Okay. So that makes it so that it's extensible.
Yeah.
It's customizable. You're not just straitjacketed into this output. Okay, good. So it's very customizable. It's flexible. I like it.
Indeed. Let's keep going. Hopefully we're answering questions along the way. We have a test that's failing. Hey, we want something to come out of this endpoint. Let's go fix it. So I'm going to do another. Should I do a Git mapping? You know, we have this service. What would you expect? Is it a Git with a parameter? Is it a post to a URL? What would you expect? If you're going to pass in some text that you're going to customize an image with, what would you expect that to look like?
I would say a post, or yeah. You could do a Git mapping, but like it'll be hard to encode that into a URL. So I like the idea of the post and maybe a JSON body or something.
So this is custom. That's an image. I think we can still return it as a response body, but we want to pass in some input. It's going to be a string, right? What would we call that? The banner? We'll just call it the text.
Banner.
Right? What are my options for passing that in?
So you want like a post body or something? Is that what we're looking for?
What do we want? A body? Is it a request body or a post body? It's a request body, right?
You can use request body, yes.
That's what we want. What else? Are we good?
Well,
so that every time I call custom with a request body that just has a string in it, every time I call that, if I call it 5 times with the exact same stuff, I should get the exact same result 5 times. That's what it means to be RESTful. It's like, hey, this is the state. This is what I expect. The RESTful paradigm, it's just a style. It's a pattern. This has, when I call this endpoint, with a certain ID or a certain value, I should expect the same thing. I should expect things to be consistent.
Yeah, it's like you can call it as many times as you want and nothing changes.
Yeah. So in this case, if I call it with the same thing 20 times, I should get the same result back. So what do we need to do? So here, we're not going to just return that default image. So let's stop that. Remember, we've done this before. We're going to copy paste from this other application, but you did something cool. You went into that chat GPT. Should we throw that up there? You want to throw that in and see what it does?
Okay. So what do we ask it?
You already did it. Where's that one that you did earlier?
Oh, yeah, that's on the machine. Here.
So you asked ChatGPT, like, hey, how do I overlay text on
here
an image?
Yeah, so I asked it, and then it returned a Java file that is very basic, but it is well documented, and it has that code there that you're looking at.
What did I delete? Oh yeah, we're good. So here's what ChatGPT gave us back. Let's just see what that does. Let's throw that. Let's throw that into an endpoint. And again, this is fun. We're gonna go over here.
So I guess we have to just make a couple of tweaks.
Yeah, here, I'm just gonna do another endpoint. I do the same thing. Streaming response body chat GPT version. Are there anything else the same? I want my HTTP response, and I'm going to pass in a request body that has a string with the text. Cool. We're going to say that it can throw an IO exception if for some reason it can't get a handle on the image. And then let's paste. This is what ChatGPT gave us.
Cool.
Okay, so far so good, right?
Yep.
Nothing's breaking, but here we got this. What is this? Create font, unhandled exception, font format exception. Oh, we can fix that real quick, right?
Okay, I can deal with it.
Done. What else? Well, we don't have a font TTF. What we do have is we have this guy in my resources already. We have this, but it's not. Hey, the input, we don't need this. So I'm going to swap these out, right? We don't have an input PNG. We don't have this font TTF. So we're going to just swap that out with what we've got. I'm going to come over to a different app. I put the links to where we're copying. I am copy and pasting because I don't have all these libraries memorized. Please don't be upset. But I'm going to go copy this stuff. So our image, our input image, I'm doing it very similar to this. I'm going to use the buffered image, and I'm grabbing it the same way I did. What was that endpoint? The template input stream is the name of that method. So I have a buffered image, and now let's call it input image. So now it's saying, hey, we want to create a graphics context on that image. And it's going to say, hey, we want to get this font. It's a true type font, but it's also coming from a different file. Let me grab that. Get font. Please hold. I'm copy and pasting. I'm grabbing the font. This is the part that I just pasted. I'm just grabbing it from the class loader resource.
Oh, I love that stuff.
Cool. So I get a font back, and I'm going to swap that out for what I have here. Font. I'll leave this font equals font dot. No. Sorry. Copying and pasting.
Okay.
Font. Oh, I can do this. Get font. Then it says, hey, set font, set color. And this one's gonna draw hello world. Let's get everybody caught up. Thanks for joining, Stanislav. I hope I said it right. We are building. We're just coding today. That's what this show is about. It's about showing you how we think. On another show on Spring Office Hours with Dan Vega, I had this Spring shell that I use to generate the images that we use when we create new shows. Over on Tanzu.tv, Spring Office Hours, where it started. We create these every week for the show. Hey, here's the episode, and we're going to say some stuff across the bottom. And every week we are going and doing it manually. It only lasts a couple of weeks because I don't have all the Adobe skill set that Dan does. And I know it only takes him a couple of minutes, but I don't have that. And when he's not around, I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. So I automated it. I made this Spring shell, but I also like Spring Native. And I ran into a problem where the native image that I wanted to give to Dan so he could use it, it didn't work on Mac. I want to be able to give him a CLI that will generate those images from some text that I pass in, and I couldn't. And that's a Mac issue that I couldn't overcome. So we're working around it. We're going to do the image processing as a service so that I can give my friends, my teammates, this CLI that I can make as a native binary, super fast, just like your ls command and your cat command on your on whatever operating system you're in. I can give you one for Mac OS. I can give you one for Linux OS or for Windows. I can do that with the power of GraalVM and what we get out of Spring Framework 6 and Spring Boot 3. That's what we're doing. That's what we're trying to accomplish. So we're pulling something out from this other project that we've done. We're pulling out the image processing. We're putting in a RESTful service, and we're going to document that service. Hopefully that gets you caught up. Messi, thank you for joining. So this example, this endpoint, Mario went in and he used ChatGPT. Hey, how do I overlay some text onto an image? And we're just going to experiment. We're going to see if that's what ChatGPT provided us. We're going to fix it up and we're going to see if it works.
And do we trust ChatGPT? I mean, is it just going to put exploits into my code? I don't know.
Now look at this. It's doing the fit.
Yeah.
So it's actually going to, I believe this is going to be centering it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, take that image width minus that font divided by 2. So yeah, we're going to center it on both the X and the Y axis. That's pretty cool that ChatGPT did that for us. Then it's going to say, hey, yep, we don't need that context. Let's output the file. Well, we're not going to output to a file. What we are going to do is we're going to deliver it to the output stream. So we don't need to do that. We need to do this. That output file. Nope. What we're going to do is this image IO takes in, we don't want it to write to that output file. We want to write.
This needs to go back to the HTTP response.
All we have to do is this. We just output stream write. That's our updated thing. So we don't need that. We just want to return that input image. Buffered. Oh, it's a buffered image. Let me see. Do I have this? Do I have the same method? Image IO dot write. Given this, can I send it to string format name and image output stream?
Okay.
Yeah, let's just do that. PNG.
Cool. I'll just follow up that first code snippet with another one. I asked it to write a horizontal line detection so that we can kind of find the place below in which we want that text to be.
So does this look right?
Unless you know the exact coordinates of where the text goes.
I do. We'll figure that out later. Cool. But this one, out of the box.
Cool.
This should do it, right? So all we've done is just change the font that we're using, everything else we're getting from, and we should see hello world.
Awesome.
Right? So if we run this, I'm going to go over here to my terminal again. It's now on the right side so everybody can see. Let's clear that out. MBNW. This is my normal. Boop. Oh, something's wrong. Missing return statement somewhere. Image controller 71.5. Oh, down here. You're okay. Not worried about that one yet. We'll come back. See what ChatGPT provided. Cool, that's running. And what I expect is if I go over here, clear, I should be able to do that same. This one is, what do we call it? What do we call the endpoint? Chat version.
Yeah.
Let's see. Does it work? It looks like it finished. I should have a chat version image. What do you think it's going to look like?
Oh, it should just have text across the face.
Image not loaded. Try to open it. Okay, so something didn't work.
Well, what does it look like?
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know. So something is missing with the example that ChatGPT provided us. It didn't do all the work for us. Are we surprised?
Let's see.
You definitely got something.
Oh, it's because we got method not allowed.
Oh, we didn't pass in any
post.
Text. We didn't do the post.
We got to pass it the.
We got to give the text.
Yeah.
HTTP post body. Our our test should, where's my browser? Sure, the cheat sheet or the actual docs? Let's go with the docs. Usage examples, method optional, get and post. HTML post. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Oh, and that's only because we added that. We passed that in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We said, hey, we're passing it in. It's using the hello world. So two options here. I can say this. So I can find my method. Okay, I'm not passing it on this method. Let's go restart that. Does that make sense what I did?
So the Graal VM team is responsible for producing a Makito compliant Spring Native builder. So currently Graal VM does not, build with the Makito library because even though it has a feature for disabling bytecode generation and working with JDK proxies instead, you have to create a file to activate that. Anyway, I'll send a link.
So I still got a 4.5. What did I do wrong?
I'm sorry. What happened?
Post. That's what I did wrong.
Okay, so we did a post to slash chat version, and we want to do post mapping for that.
I didn't ask it that way. Yeah. Sorry. That's what we get for jumping around. But okay. I hope this is familiar. I hope I'm not the only one that kind of delivers like this. So
what's the command we're using?
We're doing this. We're just doing a get.
HTTP.
Yeah. That again. Cool.
Okay,
let's look at our output. Oh, it looks like that's looking good. We didn't get a 4 or 5. Let's take a look and see if we got. Oh boy! What? Where's our text? Oh, look at there it is.
There it is.
It's right there.
Yeah. No.
Oh boy! How does that make you feel?
Be afraid.
How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel? I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean,
yeah.
But that worked.
It figured out what would take me at least 2 or 3 Stack Overflows to figure out.
Yeah. So we addressed that already. What does that mean? How can I test? The thing is, we have options to come back and do that. We have options for how we're going to test our native applications. So on the CLI, that's something else. But the one thing that I've realized along this whole Graal VM thing is if you've got tests, yay. If you've got tests and you're able to test your application and you've gone beyond just the unit tests, even better. The better you are at testing, the faster you're going to be able to go forward with this Graal VM native approach, because a lot of the concern, which the Graal VM team has done an amazing job. Early on, people were finding deltas between the behavior of their application running on the JVM, just-in-time compiling, and how it behaved as ahead of time, that static native binary. And there was concern, rightly so. But if you've got tests for that application that's running on the JVM, you've got tests where you can go and validate it like we're doing here. You can turn around and use those same ones on that native image. Now, it's not doing it at build time. It's not doing the test cycle for both, but you have options. So I actually have another project I'll throw up where one of the approaches is I've taken test containers. I use test containers to go out and build that native image because my laptop is not super powerful. And this is a gateway. And what I did here, again, trying to address this.
Are you using Cloud Gateway?
This is a Spring Cloud Gateway.
Show us Cloud Gateway. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't used it enough.
So I'll throw that in the chat. What I did here was, it's a Gradle project. Let's look at the build. I said, hey, I've got these, boot build image, where maybe I didn't separate it out here. Yeah, source tests. I've got my integration tests over here. So that when I do my integration tests, what it does is it runs these guys. Source integration. It runs this guy. And what this guy does is it's using test containers. So it goes out, it's going to build the image inside of a Docker image as a test container. Hey, go do this thing and give me that image back. When I get that image back as a regular test container, I can use that image to then go in and validate it. So from my code, I've got my normal Mockito tests that are running as unit tests, running against a JVM, just like I'm doing today. But I can take that test, and this looks very similar to what we're doing, right? I can take that same test, a similar test, and I say, hey, this is an integration test. Go build that native image first, then run these tests, which match those Mockito tests that you're running in your inner loop. So I'm highly recommending that you are not doing the native compilation as part of your inner loop development. The time, even on the fast machines, the time it takes to do that native loop or that native image processing is not worth it, or not worth it to me.
That's minutes, right?
We're trying to improve this mean time to dopamine. I want you to get jazzed. I want you to see, oh, yep, we're moving in the right direction. Don't do the native stuff in your inner loop, what we're doing here. That's why we're not doing it here, because I want to go faster than it would take.
Okay, I think this is cool, but let me grep this myself here. Yeah. This integration test you wrote takes the existing production code, packages it into a Docker container in an image, and then deploys it locally, and then executes the tests against it.
So here, my little inner loop. I'm doing right MVNW clean spring boot run, right? I'm doing that stuff. It's running my keto tests.
Yeah, that's really
right. I'm done. I'm good. Hey, I think I checked the box. I got my blank image. Then the next step is like, hey, maybe before I commit, I want to run those integration tests. I want to say, hey, you know what? I didn't do the native stuff. Mockito doesn't work with the native stuff. So what do I do? What are my options? Well, this is the option that I have. I'm not trying to fix the world. I'm trying to get to production. So what I've done here is say, hey, I'm doing inner loop development just like we're doing now. When I'm done, I want to go build that thing as a native image. So I get that tiny container that's going to run on whatever platform I want it to. I get that native image, and I want to validate that native image. So I'll take the time before I commit to say, yep, let's go run those integration tests, and then circle back. What does that do? That integration test is right here. We're going to create this image feature. To say, go do this thing. Use this settings.gradle, and we're going to run, these are the commands. And it's all packaged there, so there's nothing extra to do. Hey, we're doing this tests. We're not running the unit tests. Just do the build image. Build the image. That's all that this is doing right now. It builds that image, and then when it's done building that image, I can connect that image here. I get a new container from that image feature that we created and expose those ports. And now for each test, which I've only got the one here, for each test, go start it up, and then give me a web client, validate that that endpoint works. So here I'm just saying, is that thing up and running? Is it healthy? If I were doing this exact same thing on this project, what I would be doing is go back to our IDE. I would have an integration test that looks just like this for each one of those tests that we're testing with Mockito, I would make a similar test as an integration test against that native image. Does that make sense?
Cool.
Messy. I really,
I like it.
really appreciate the feedback. We appreciate, this will be recorded. We'll post it on YouTube so you can always get caught up. But thank you for joining.
That is closest to production you can possibly get without going into production.
I mean,
deploying it, testing that deployment, getting validation, and then saying, okay, this thing is going to be able to perform in production.
Yeah. So where was that question? Did we miss anything from the question? Yeah, this is the question. So yeah, like, how do we test? That's how we test. That's an example. That's an approach for how you can validate. Hopefully that answered. Yes, pretty sure ChatGPT is not going to replace us. I think that's safe. And
in 7 years, we're going to be like, oh, remember when we thought ChatGPT wouldn't replace us?
I think the only, I don't like to do a lot of predictions, but I think that the only people that need to be concerned about ChatGPT are the search engines. That's the only, right? If I can go and ask and get processed output instead of, oh, yeah, it's probably over there. It's taken it a step further. It's a generational leap for search engines. That's all I'm giving it right now. So you don't like Postman to HTTP request? Yeah, Postman. We can actually generate Postman as well, but not out of the box. But there's the older version. There's a plugin compatible with the older version of Spring REST docs where we can get Postman results out of there as well. I'll circle back and try to bring some of these other libraries up so we can do the open API spec. We can do the Postman bundling as well.
That's cool.
So yeah, cool. Maybe. I think we're all caught up. Cool. Wait. Oh, here we go. I understand the integration test part, but how to run the unit test when Spring Boot 3 with native image plugin? Yeah. So when I do the Spring Boot build image, let me go back. When we're done, when we're doing our integration test phase, yes, I'm adding this Spring. I'm having it build the native image, and I'll show you where that was.
Okay, so will this whole project build out a native image?
This builds a native image in my Docker account. It doesn't publish it anywhere. It's building it in my context, whatever that is, wherever I'm running it. And I don't have it publishing at this point because I might want to sign it. I want to add certs to it and other things down the road. But at this point, I've tested, I've done my things. At this point, what I want to do is validate the native image, and I'll show you where that part was in this example.
Okay, but your integration test doesn't dump out a native image. You said that was a bad idea.
No, my integration test does build a native image and validates against the native compiled image. Okay. And this is where I make that happen. Down here where I say the build image here. For any task called boot build image, I'm using this custom builder.
Can you scroll up some?
Yeah. Sorry. Oh.
Thank you.
That's as far as I can go. So for my boot build image, I'm using my custom builder because I do things on ARM64. I want to use UPX compression so I get an even tinier binary at the out. And I do want to do that native image. So for my integration tests, this is how I'm building my image. I'm building a native image, and then I'm going and running those tests.
Okay. So you can run that here, and will that work here?
Can I run this?
Well, how long does that take?
Yeah, we don't want to do this in our local, right? In our interlude, because it does take minutes, right? And if it's on this little laptop, it's going to take multiple minutes. Like go. So
you have to be explicit here.
So I'm not doing that. If I've only got an hour to get to production.
I get you.
But when I'm done doing my things, like maybe we do that at the end. Maybe we get through this, we do that at the end, and then we go do a native image. If we do it on Linux, we'll be fine because we will get the AWT packages.
Cool.
So we can do that. So of course, I need to also revisit the explanation again. You might have missed. Yeah, let me know. If you still don't get it, I'll tell you this. It is more important for me to make sure that you understand a way to move forward than what we're doing here. So if you still have questions about this approach, about your questions, bring them. I care more about you right now and your concerns than I do this. We can always come back and do this. So if you've still got questions, this goes to anybody that's watching. We are here at your service. We want to teach you. We want to get you over the hump. So let us know. So, hey, are you guys streaming every week or something? We're going to try to bring the show back. It's a show that's been around for a while. It has had a little hiatus, and it's 2023. Everybody's got resolutions, and one of mine is to bring the show back and do things like this. Let's code together. Let's do things. Let's work through problems. And what we're doing today is just showing an example. It's a little bit longer show when we have time for questions, but we're showing what it looks like to tackle complex problems and get them to production. So yeah, and we have other shows on Tanzu TV. Yeah, you should come check it out. I'll tip that one more time because it's a new year, right? Spring office hours, me and Dan. That's every week, mostly. Enlightening. This is, if you're going to watch one, it's not mine, but if you're going to watch one and you care anything about your future, like this is it. This show is hands down, like not just of Tanzu TV. This is one of the best shows, regular streaming shows, most powerful, the way she delivers. I said it yesterday. I could watch Whitney just reading a book, reading a phone book. She would make it fun. She does an amazing job. You got to watch it. But we have these other shows. Come check it out. Nate's show is amazing. Check us out. There's lots of stuff. But yeah, we're going to try to do this show. Bring it back. So stay tuned. Let's keep on going.
Okay.
Awesome. That's what we like to hear. Yes, definitely tune in. Field Snable. Yes, we need the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. Like we're yeah, exactly. Sorry. That's the way it is. Like I have no hard feelings. She's on my team. So yeah, sorry to everybody else. Right. Yeah. I can sit with the cool kids. So that we're gonna keep on going. We did the chat GPT things. Oh, sorry, Michael. I appreciate the feedback. I really do. We're gonna keep on going. Our chat GPT, it did a thing. It put it there. Like, hey, let's look at our output again. It worked. Like, congratulations. That was awesome. We had to make a couple of changes, but we didn't give it all the stuff that it needed to know. So cool.
Yeah.
One thing would be interesting is like if you could craft a way to tell chat GPT, like, hey, here's the name of my TrueType font, here's the file name, and here's the file name of the input image. I wonder if we can figure that out. But probably not. That's the scary part. It's a search engine.
I asked it to create a tensor and rotate it in 3 dimensions, 90 degrees, and it gave me a Java. It told me to hold on.
You broke it.
Now the sky is black. I don't know what's going on with the sky out there, but I think it's gone.
So what is your take on ChatGPT? We're doing it live. We just did an example. ChatGPT just made this method for the most part, and it worked, right? Given the constraints, it did what it was supposed to do. So cool. We got that version. Now we're going to go build one that's going to work for us and for this show, for the Spring Office Hour show. So we're going to build this custom. It's going to take some text input. So this one didn't take that. We're going to have it take some text input. It's going to do a lot of the same stuff, right?
Okay. So this one is going to output a template image with the text, and it's like normal position.
Yep, in its spot. So again,
and size.
I already had this done in another project. I put the links in the chat. So I'm going to go and copy paste over what we've got over here, and we can talk about it. So I have a fit function here that's going to, based on the input text, it's going to change the size of the font that it's going to use. All right. Then I'm going to do a couple of different things. Let's see if I can get this right. I'm going to copy this much. Yes, copy paste, copy pasta. We're going to grab, it's not called template, it's got a different name, template input stream. So we have an image, and then it goes here. It's not get font. Why is it not working? What happened here? This says, font format exception. We can fix that real quick. Cool. The text is the text that we're going to overlay on our image. Because we fit it first, and then we do it. So we get the font to the right size before we lay it on top of the image. That's what we're doing. So let's go ahead and comment that. Make sense? Is that?
What does the fit function do?
It sizes the font. So it's taking the font that we passed in with the text that we pass in, and it gets the image. So it says, hey, given this font, I know how big that font is. I know how big the image is. And it's going to say, hey, I want to fit that into here. So that was my sizer for giving me that extra space that I need on the outside to make it fit the brand. So that could have been anything, but that's what that is. So this is my fit function. Again, I'm not proud of the code. I'm proud of people like Funky Waddle in my life that helped me be confident on these streams. He's an OG of streaming, and I appreciate him being here. I'm not always proud of the code, but I am proud that when I take this stuff to production, I've got tests around it so that everybody else can use it. It might not look the best. And there's probably a dozen other easier ways to do this. And you can probably ask ChatGPT to fit a fit function like this, except to kind of fit our brand. So let's show what we're trying to get to. Quick, go back to our Spring Office Hours is our example.
Let's see that.
This is where we're wanting it. We're wanting it down here under the line. This is where we're going to put the text. And we're making that font sized right so it can fit under that line and stay in brand with what we're trying to do. Again, it's a very specific use case, and you've got specific use cases as well, but this is what we're doing. So cool. Now we've got our attribute text. Given that text, hey, here's our string. We're going to use that and we're going to apply it with that font that we just created, that sized font in black as the background. The text background is back. And now we're doing our image graphics. So cool. We got that. I don't have the bottom pad set, so I got to go grab those values. Again, these are specific to this image, right? To your brand. They're specific. So we throw those values in. And now we're not going to write this out to a file path. Remember, we're moving this to a service. So let's write it the same way that we did before. We got that image. We're going to write it to the output stream, except it's now called image. Now, our custom endpoint is taking in this text, and it's going to write the text that we pass in. It's going to size it, and boom, move it. What is, I feel like I missed a question.
Oh boy.
Oh, the medicine. Oh, thank you. Yes, you, me, we're in the same boat. I said earlier in the show, I liked having others around. I liked having Mario on the other screen working on something and just being able to listen. And in my head, you guys are still working. You're trying to get things to production, and you might not be paying 100% attention, but you might hear something along the way, or you might be interested, or you might have a similar problem. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that we can build a relationship. We can help each other out. Because yeah, I'm being fully transparent and vulnerable. This is the code that I wrote. This is the code I'm going to take to production, but I'm going to give you tests with it. So let's keep on going. Cool. We're doing stuff. I hope I'm catching all the chat. We have upgraded our custom endpoint. Did we make a test for that? So we have custom. We have ChatGPT. We might as well just leave that one in there. Let's jump over here. Our custom endpoint. We've got it's a post, right? And that post needs, did I do that right? Do I want
The post with that?
No, this one, right?
I'll just import it, yeah.
And we have to, on that post, we have to pass in our string with I'm going to go look at an example, and I don't know. I don't know what's the library, and this is what I expect you are going to do. You're going to go and look.
What do you want to do?
I want to pass in some text using mock MVC. I want to do this post, and I want to have what do I need to pass? Oops, what do I need to pass in?
Okay.
I have a request line. No, it's not. That's not it. It's just like a.
I think we can find some code that does
that. Do we have help? Did I just get help over here? Spring Boot test class, my use case test, mock bean private, my port, AutoArt private, my use case. We're passing these things in. My Pojo output equals my use case dot save Pojo. Cool. Yeah, that works. This is my unit test where I'm using mockbean when I try to run Gradle native. Yeah, this perfect. Thank you. That is exactly right. Thank you for sharing that. This is the difference. You are not going to be able to run the native test because you're using mockbean. That is, so you understood that right. You're running into the problem. The solution I propose is that you don't run this. The solution I propose is you change that native test, you build an integration test that's going to do something similar to your mock test for now. That's what I'm proposing. Is that a workable solution for you? Because you're still going to be validating that native image. You're still going to validate the native image, but not with the mockbean Mockito tests. You have to do it a different way. We're not in control of the Growl VM when we can't do anything, and that is a problem outside of my scope. But I think I'm like a lot of you. I think that I'm not going to let something like that get in between me and production. If I've got something that needs to go, yeah, I'm suggesting
I don't understand completely.
So I'll scoot back. Here's the problem: is that when he's doing the native test, it's saying, "Hey, I've got this set of tests that I only want to run after I've done the native compilation." But we can't do that with Mockito.
Okay, so just native tests with Mockito requires extra support.
Yep.
To tell Growl, like, there are some constructs that you're going to need to know about For one thing, Mockito likes to do bytecode rewriting, and that's a no-no for native. But then there's a way to turn that off and then say use proxies instead. If
You are much deeper on this topic than I am. So let's just be clear. You understand what the frameworks, the difference between the different testing frameworks. Mario, you absolutely have that understanding. I don't go that deep. So yeah.
Spring Native has an issue, which is 1063, that it says this is a GraalVM issue.
Mm-hmm.
Inside of that issue, they gave the answer to enable it, and so that issue was closed since it wasn't a Spring-centric issue, but rather a GraalVM issue.
Oh, wait a minute. So is this that thing that we talked about yesterday? Fuel Stable, you were on the show. Is this the thing that we talked about yesterday where I can say, don't use the proxy classes?
Right.
I can go forward. So I can configure Spring to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, we like to use proxy classes and we do it all the time, but in this case, don't.
Right. Well, Mockito has the feature to disable bytecode generation and work with JDK proxies, because those things are, of course, usable.
So this is something that I think that's worth circling back on. I don't know it well enough to help you out any further today. I do have a workaround. Is there a way to do this on the JVM? Not the native approach that you're trying to do. But yeah, if you want to share, or if you have a way to share a project, I'm happy to work on that with you. If you want to share a GitHub URL, I will happily go in and add integration tests and try to help you move forward and kind of show you the side by side. I would be very happy to do that.
Oh, okay.
Here's a good question. You want to answer this one, Mario? What's the difference between a library and a framework?
Well, it's the difference of a library and a framework. Well, usually a library is small. It's pretty composed into one thing, like image processing. While a framework will give you many things to work with. In other words, rather than just image processing, it'll give you the library to process pixels on the image, and it'll do it in a conventional style. Like a framework is more architecture, while a library is more, just a building piece.
A single component. That's the way I look at it in my head. I think a framework, hey, I got a house that I'm building. A framework is like the frame of a house, right? I got upstairs, I got downstairs, I got a basement, I got windows. The library becomes those components, like the door. Right? So that's the difference. And I've used a system, so all my doors are going to be this size. That's set by the framework.
I can give you the answer that I want to give you. But I don't want to give you this answer because it's not my answer. It's the robot's answer.
Well, let's hear it. I mean, we're already down that path.
Yeah.
We're already talking about ChatGPT. Let's see what ChatGPT says. Basically, I'm fine testing most of the unit tests on JVM and integration tests on native image. If there is such solution, can be implemented on the same Spring Boot project workspace. Yes. Yeah, you can do this on your same Spring Boot project. You can do this as a part of your project. You don't have to separate those tests. If you are okay with that inner loop and that time for running the native image, the native compilation, and then do your test, don't separate those tests out as an integration test. Just add that test, and then you won't need to do the native test part of your build. You can just do Gradle build, your regular path, and that integration test will do the create the native image part, validate the native image output. You can definitely go down that path. Now let's see the Chat GPT library versus framework.
So I put the answer into a text file of the project.
In Java, a library is a collection of pre-written classes that you can use in your own. Oh, I mean, that's awesome. A library provides a set of functions that you can call to perform specific tasks, such as reading or writing files, connecting to a database, or performing mathematical calculations. A framework, on the other hand, is a set of conventions and protocols, well done, that define how to build and structure a software application. Man, we were both right. A framework provides a set of components or building blocks that you can use to develop your application, but it also imposes certain constraints on how you use those components. For example, a web application framework might require you to structure your code in a certain way and might provide a set of predefined methods that you must use to handle HTTP requests and responses. In general, a library is a more general purpose tool that you can use to perform a variety of tasks, while a framework is a more structured tool that provides a specific set of tools and conventions for building a particular type of application. That all made sense to me. It all seemed to line
I
up.
would think the last paragraph, but yeah.
Yeah. Well done. Well done, ChatGPT.
Good
I'll bet you that some of that is based on the books that you've written, Mario. Like they're taking it from you. You're not taking it from ChatGPT. They took it from you first. That's it.
It uses it as input.
Let's see. I searched a lot about Spring Boot versus Spring MVC, but both of them doesn't follow the model you can.
Well, Spring MVC versus Spring Boot. Spring MVC is a subcomponent, while Spring Boot provides the overall framework for auto-configuring various resources of the Spring project. So Spring Boot basically can understand how to wire in Spring components based off of the sub-project, such as MVC. So when you bring in Spring MVC Starter or Spring Web Starter, it will do all of the auto configuration to ensure that the server starts and the things that are in their right place, such as your REST components, are also exposed. So that's what Spring Boot will do. Spring MVC will expose the particular set of functionality for the, of course, the web structure, your HTML index page. It'll know how to find the views for that particular resource, and it'll wire together REST template, and it'll expose your controllers. It'll do a bunch of stuff that are web related. The MVC itself is a way of exposing your websites, right? Model view controllers. So you write your model domain, you write your views, and then you have controllers that take the view and apply, right, model to that view. So you have for instance, a product page, right? Now, the product is the model, the view is the page itself, and the controller is the stitching that brings that model with that view and shows the correct state. But in terms of not follow the MVC, I believe it's the right it's the right thing that MVC does. It's just following the MVC convention.
Yeah, there's patterns. I'd like to know more about where you're coming from with that. Let's see if we can help get clarity on what you're trying to accomplish. I'm a big fan of Spring Boot and what it does. There's another good question. I don't know if you know the answer. I'm not sure. Does Spring support OSSJ technology? I have not heard of OSSJ. It's not connecting or ringing any bells.
OSSJ.
OSSJ.
Interface implementations and design guidelines for the development of component-based OSS systems. What is an OSS system in this context? Is OSS open source, or is it something else?
Hey, Decibel. I'm gonna try it. Decibel. Thank you for the feedback. We're happy that you're here, and if we can do anything to get you unstuck, we will. Funky Waddle always has strong opinions on everything. And this is one. MVCST plus R is the true proper layout. I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to say anything more. I'm just going to let Funky Waddle out there. You can catch him on Twitch. He's awesome. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for sticking around. Let's keep on going. I think we're getting all the questions answered. I'm happy with the way this is going. We have now set up this custom. We were trying to figure out how to do our test. We want to pass in that text. You know what? I don't even need that, do I?
So what have you got?
Oh, you know what I haven't been doing? I haven't been setting our content type. And stuff. We'll circle back on that. But what we were trying to do is in our test, how do I pass in the text on this post method? Oh, you already did it. Look at you. Yeah. You did it already. Okay. Awesome. You nailed it. Let's run it. Wait, it failed. Did you run it? Let's run it.
I sure didn't. I just wrote that and
that failed from before. Let's see if it works now.
What's it doing?
Oh, I think it's because I had this other one running still. And how do we fix that? We fix that in our tests. So what I believe just happened, let's go and make sure. I can't see what it said.
I'm getting content type not set as an error.
Oh.
So we have to have an assertion that the return content type is.
So we asserted this, but we didn't set it. We asserted like, hey, get this, but we didn't set it. So exactly the thing that I said, we'll get to it later. Let's go and match the way that we did it before. Up here, there's my bits. Zoinkity zoink. I think that's all I need to do. I can then go to my custom endpoint. Before I write that out, I want to give this. I don't need this yet.
No.
I can do.
Wait, why don't we need that?
Because we're not testing against that content length, and I don't know it. So that if I did this test and then I captured the output, but the different text I send in is going to have a different output size.
Different length.
It's going to be hard to test against. I can still send it, and maybe that's a good idea is to still send it. But this is supposed to be. Wait, why is that not working?
What is image? Buffered image. Okay. Would it be size?
Oh, because it's not.
That's an image.
Yeah, this is my buffered image. I need to get. Sorry, I can't see my screen. I'm going to comment that out right now. But I need to get how big is that byte array. And we'll come back to it. Oops.
Right. So we want to get the size of the byte array?
Yeah.
Like byte array.
Byte array. So what does this format name do? I don't know. I don't know what it does. I think it just tells it what kind of format it's doing. I'll bet you that does. No, I'll bet it doesn't. Let's see. We made our change. We're going to rerun our test. This is my loop. I don't have to run everything. I'm just going to run this one test. And it worked. Look at that. It worked. And part of it working is it created this custom snippet that we are then going to throw into our documentation. And there it is. So to get a customized file, do something like this. With a customized file, you're going to post that custom endpoint with some text. And you get your customized file. Now, one of the cool things that I can do is I could take those images and I can throw those into my docs. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to get a customized template file. How do I include an image in ASCII doc?
Like an actual like picture?
Yeah.
Right.
So we talked about customizing our output. I want this to look good. I want you guys to use it. I want my teammates to use it. Where did I put the image? Image, just like that. Let's do that. We're gonna here.
Is it image colon?
I get the template file.
Yeah.
I should just be able to do image. Let's not sunset. I want to do image. This guy. Spring office hours.
I'm going to say ask you doctor versus Swagger doc, but that's only because I'm partial to this current iteration.
What happens if I do? I don't know the path or where it's finding its stuff. There, look at that.
Okay.
So boom, if you call this endpoint, this is what you get.
Very nice.
If we do a customized, and right now we did test banner. Let's go ahead and run that because I'm not doing my docs before I do it. We're here. We're running it. Now my service is running. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do clear. Oops, let's hide this thing. I'm going to do HTTP 8080 custom and the value. I think I just pass in test. Do I have to do it like this? No. Can I just do it as a quote? What is it? We had it up and I forgot. Get, we say post. I'm fixing my thing. Post. Post.
Okay, I'm going to answer another question with our friend.
You're answering questions.
So I'm looking at the most latest question so far and thinking that's a good question to ask somebody.
How do I pass in the body? Active dir. Let's see what we're looking at here. Says, yeah. Oh, where's the question? Let's go back. Oh, I've missed a lot. So, first of all, it makes a lot of sense. Yes, thank you for the questions. Let's see. What is this? Let's see. What is the best way to integrate React build into Spring Boot apps so it can be served by the Spring backend? That is a really good question. And I have an approach. And the approach that I like to use, I'm trying to think of the name of it, is when you give me a repository, I want to be able to, I don't want to have anything else installed. So there's a Maven plugin that allows me to go and install things like NPM in Node, etc. And I like that to be included. And that's one of the reasons I like Maven more than Gradle, is because I can take a project and say, hey, go add these things to it. And I know how Maven is set up. Gradle, because of its flexibility, there's not really as many conventions around how you're delivering it. But if you'll give me just a moment, I'm going to come back to Kadir and I will come back and answer that question. I'm going to make sure we're doing all the rest here. Model view controller service template repository. You've exposed yourself, Monkey Waddle. We all know which framework you use. And that's cool. I get it. Right. Yeah, that is good patterns, and you're going to see that in a lot of places. Yeah. And I hope you're doing all right. I appreciate your confidence and I appreciate your expertise. Seal Stable says, probably discussed, but I think killer app for ChatGPT Copilot is when I am exploring something new. Yeah, and absolutely.
I totally agree with that.
So yeah, Stack Overflow could be worried or improved, right? Can you give a few tips for young dev that wants to learn Spring Boot and after that Spring Cloud Migration? Yes. First, keep coming to the show. Second, make sure you check out Spring Office Hours with me and Dan Vega every week. And always start at spring.io. There's plenty of guides for you to get started with. And it's the source, right? You're going to find a lot of places. They're going to have a lot of approaches and details, and they're going to get you to production. This is the stuff that's going to be the latest and greatest. This is where you want to start your learning. And look right there, just said mark. This is where you want to start. And we're here for you. If you have questions along the way, we are here. We talked about this. Ask Your Doctor or Swagger was a better option. I explained that the reason I lean into Ask Your Doctor, and I'm not saying one's better than the other, but my approach for leaning into Ask Your Doctor is because the way that I'm doing it here with Spring REST docs is I'm making sure that my documentation is valid because I ran it with my tests, and I'm delivering that documentation because of the tests. It's the other TDD. It's test-driven documentation that I get with Ask Your Doctor and REST docs.
The other TDD.
The other TDD. And this is the question that you were answering. Can someone explain Amazon AD server can be used as LDAP server to authenticate retrieve user details? It can. And Spring Authorization Server, another component, part of this Spring ecosystem, you can connect to Amazon AD. And let's just keep on going. Again, your questions are way more important than this demo. This demo is going to be updated. We are going to update the guide, and you'll have this. So your questions today are more important than what's going on here. I'm looking forward to Spring now. Yes. We all are. That's why we're here. Oh, look at who's here. Josh.
Hey, it's Starbucks man.
Oh, buddy. Thank you for joining. And we're big fans of you. Let's go.
Big fans.
Oh, here's a good question. Is it possible to do fuzz testing in Spring Boot? Man, yeah, I know by that question that you have been around for a while, right? Who wants to go and write tests, right? Fuzzing. Back in the day, there was a lot of frameworks, and I actually contributed to one that would do that. You give your project some code, and it would go out and fuzz it. It would let me send a bunch of stuff, and it would find the holes, and it would find like, hey, I'm going to send a bunch of acts, no sin, etc. I'm going to send a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to expose where problem might be. There are projects out there that do that. I don't know of one that is mature enough to include in my pipeline today off the top of my head. But there are projects out there that do that. And that is a very interesting space to be in. So yeah, the answer is yes, it is possible. But it depends on how mature you want that to be. Spring does have a really good interface. It's got a framework that allows you to have all the entry into what's happening under the covers that you need. So yeah, but it's something I haven't looked at in a while. And I put the question up here so that we will come back to it. We're going to record this and it'll be up on YouTube, and all of your questions, hopefully I didn't miss any. We bring them up on the screen to make sure that we don't miss any. And if I have an answer between now and the next show, I'll post it on Twitter. You can check my blog or Mario's blog. We want to answer your questions. And if that's something you're looking for, actually, I think I know a couple of customers that I can reach out to that might have something more.
I just want to add that if somebody adds AI to fuzz testing, then
oh boy,
we have to be careful with our code a lot more, and we have to test a lot more too.
And the other TDD, total domination development.
Total domination. Yeah.
I hope that the picture I have in my head of you outside shoveling while you're listening and watching, I hope that that's what's happening right now. That makes
I hope you're dominating that snow.
Yeah, that makes me happy.
Man.
What about property-based testing in Spring? We can. I think we can do that. I think that we're checking the boxes. Yeah, I want to know more about what you're trying to get to here. But yeah, I think we can address anything you might need around property-based testing. I'm trying to handle the exception when a URI path is invalid or does not exist. What is the exception that Spring Boot uses for default? So this is another it depends question. And I think we actually addressed it like, hey, if I call an endpoint and it's not there, what do I expect to get back? We have options. We can go look at the HTTP status codes. The one that we ran into earlier was 405. What is the HTTP status 405? Do you remember?
Was content type not found?
Let's take a look here. 405 was method not allowed.
Oh, method not allowed, yeah.
Right.
One of those.
I will say this. I've been down the hole of trying to get my endpoints to have a valid output, but you have to be careful because if you say that, hey, that's not there, or 404, you're giving away some information about what your service exposes. So you have to be careful about what you expose and where you're exposing it. If it's an internal service, like service to service that you can control, then maybe you can be a little bit more what's the word I'm looking for? Like transparent about what's actually happening in that service. If I call an endpoint and it's not there, hey, 404. If the other part is if I call an endpoint asking for an ID, what does that 404 mean? Does it mean that the ID is not there or that the endpoint is not there? So this is why we're here. This is a good example of why we want to document our endpoints, because instead of trying to guess what does it mean, I would rather show you, whatever that endpoint is that you're trying to call, especially for something internal. What I would like to do is add a document that sits maybe at /docs or the root of the service that says, here's how to use our service. Here's the things that you can expect. Here's how you call it. Call a /template. Here's what you're going to get back. That's what I'm proposing to you.
No, could you please answer the question about Clay Cloak?
Which one?
So I want to say something real quickly.
All right, go ahead.
Fuel Snobble says, I think property-based testing is to unit testing what is dependency injection to Java. And I think it's close there. I would like to add that it builds on it, right? So you're talking about like the properties of your application and being able to handle certain states. You normally would have to build that into your unit tests. Property-based testing takes it to the next level, and it allows you to say, this is how my application is going to work based off of some input. And here are the various states that I expect from that application. And so I think it gives you like a much wider scope of understanding how your application will behave in production. But also it doesn't like make it so that unit testing isn't important. Unit testing is very important. That's all. That's the one thing I wanted to say. So still unit test, please.
Awesome. So we kind of addressed this one. Yeah, there's always questions. My proposal is put the docs out with your API. Expose what you want to expose. Tell the consumers how to use it. Funky Waddle adds in, like there's different layers. Like, what does it mean? Does 404 mean that the endpoint's not there or that entity's not there? You have different options. And yes, those status codes can help a bunch, but Don't leave it up to the user to figure out what that means. What is that tool for? We need the tool 5 or tool. Don't leave it up to them. Explain it to them. Hey, yes, thanks. Craig Newt, yes, Spring Boot native. Today's Connect really helped me get to the answer to my queries. I have been struggling for the last couple of days. This is it. Like,
You get a pat on the back.
Here. Tell your friends. Like, that's what we're here
back.
for. Yes, tell your friends. Like, I appreciate you so much. And under my thing, you can see that I have goosebumps. This is why I enjoy what I do.
But you're jacked. So
I
goosebumps go along with it.
I get goosebumps from people like you. So thank you for joining. Fuel Stable adds a few property-based testing I find really benefit from record types. Yes, indeed. Oh, and he throws in union types we talked about yesterday. I stopped talking property-based testing now. Okay, yeah, get that snow shoveled and stay safe. I'm so glad you're here. Yes. Return codes are used randomly. Document it so we know what's going on.
HTTP return codes.
But you
sometimes random.
You added another output here, like this fuzzing. I definitely want to circle back on this. This is something that we could probably explore on a later show as well. Because that'd be fun. It'd be fun to find some integrations where we can get some benefit from some framework that's going to add some tests, give some coverage, expose some things for us. There's a lot of power in stuff like that. So we should definitely come back to it. But let's keep going. We're at time. So if you've got to run to dinner, I get it. Feel free. It's recorded. It'll be on YouTube. But let's see if we can wrap up our little example here where we called our endpoint. We pass in test banner. What's the way to pass in that? Oops.
The actual content type.
I want to pass in test banner
content
to my post. How do I do that?
With HTTP.
With HTTP.
HTTP.
Yeah. So the example in the documentation said, where was it? Here. It says, hey, I do a property equals value.
Oh, data equals.
Oh, data equals.
Uh-huh.
Like that, data equals.
So he says use -- form as the flag. And then post the URL data equals message. However, that's not a raw post. It seems to turn it into a JSON.
That'll be fine.
To send a JSON, we want to send a text string.
You want to copy paste it in there?
Sure. Let me see. Generate that sends a post to URL.
Yes. Red docs do provide samples for HTTP. I just don't know. Well, I guess I could have. I have to go look at my docs. Why am I being so silly? They're like, hey, I got it over here. It's already in my docs. I can just go down here and instead of doing the curl, hi, sweetie.
There.
I'm still doing my show. I need to do, let me hide this. I need to just do the HTTP. So this is HTTP. And look at over here, my snippets, my generated snippets show how to do that custom call with HTTP.
Oh, it's already there. Okay.
It's already there.
Well, I asked our friend, and I got a useful answer.
Okay, I'll come up in just a minute.
I like to call it our friend.
So let's copy that. So
So
what I'm doing, the only reason, hey, that was Morpheus. Thank you so much for why was I doing all the hard stuff? I already did it. So now let's go and run that test. I'm going to bring this over here. And the reason I want to run that test, I'm going to do this. The reason I want to do that is because I want to have that output. Actually, I should do it like this. And I'll put that to custom.png. So now I've got a custom.png over here that I can go throw right into my docs.
Oh.
So now my documentation, if I pass in test banner, my documentation will show you exactly what that looks like. Oops, but I gotta change this to HGT. And I need to put this. Is custom. Look, so if you pass in test banner, that's what it's going to look like. And that's now part of my docs. That's now part of my docs. So my tests, and we could go in and validate, hey, is this pixel perfect exactly like it's supposed to be? We could do that, but we're not going to today.
Does it say test banner?
Yeah, we don't have a way of looking at that image to say, hey, does it say test banner? My daughter's getting yelled at. I apologize. I'm going to mute real quick. I'm going to close that door.
You need some sort of image classification software that looks for that text.
All right. So we have a service now that we can go in and we can ask for a blank image that we want to use somebody else, or we can go in and we can pass in an example of like, hey, what does this look like? Let's go and run our services running over here in our other screen, our shared. It's still up and running. I can go over here and I can say, you know what? For the next thing, my little pipeline, it's not a test banner. Sorry, it's not test banner. I want to do episode. What's the next one? Like 26. And it's going to be what's something that we should talk about next week. We could circle back on Spring Red Sox. Okay, boom. Oops. And now that's going to be over here as custom image, and this is what it's going to look like. That's what next week's logo is going to look like. So now we did it. So what did we do? Well, I'll show you what we did. Just to remind everybody what we did. We had a problem with our Spring CLI, our Spring Shell CLI, where I couldn't package that for Mac OS, for Darwin, that me and my teammates all use. But when we create these shows, we set these shows up and we announce them over here on our blog, we like to put some images out there so you know what's coming. We give these images as part of our workflow. And we were doing it manually before. I don't want that. We want to automate all the things and we want to use Spring. So we took the part that was broken and we turned it into a service, and we'll host that service somewhere. And our CLI, instead of doing all the image processing, our tiny little CLI that's natively compiled for whatever operating system we're on, will call out to that service. It doesn't care what operating system that's on. It's calling a RESTful service. The Spring Shell CLI is going to call that RESTful service, and the Spring, whoever's working on the Spring Shell CLI has the documentation that goes along with it. And the last thing that we should bundle that. Like if we're going to take this to production, we've got some images, we got here's how we're going to build it. This is what it's going to look like. The last thing we want to do is I want that documentation to go with my product. I don't want them to be disconnected. That's another value of what we're doing here is I ran my tests. I made some updates. Everything works. This is what the documentation looks like with this version. So what we're going to do, we are going to go look at this other project real quick. And I'm going to let everybody go because I know it's dinner time. My kids are getting hangry. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a little tiny piece. And I'm going to copy and paste from this other project. You have the links. I'm going to add a little tiny piece for our documentation on our build. I'm going to add a plugin that's the Spring Maven Resources plugin, or it's just the Maven Resources plugin, not Spring. I'm going to copy that into my Palm somewhere down here, maybe. Yep, I think it needs to be last. And let's see what that's doing. The last thing is with the Maven Resources plugin, we're saying, hey, copy some resources. Do I want it in static docs? No, I'm going to put it in the root. So I want to copy these resources from generated docs, from my target generated docs. I want that index.xml. I'll also get those images. I want that to go into my static directory of my project. So let's see what that looks like. In my terminal over here, or either shared terminal, I'm going to stop the one that was running.
Is this going to be bundled.
I'm going to do this clean package. Let's take a quick look and see what that does. We ran all our tests. Our tests are passing. Our documentation is updated. We have snippets over here for custom and template, and we generated docs that has our sample images and our index.html. Well, what does that mean? They're there, and we also tell that to put it into static. Cool. So they exist there. And one of the conventions that we get with Spring Boot is that if you've got stuff in static, we'll serve it for you. So this is being served from the root of our project. Let's go see what that means. Let's do mdnw Spring Boot run. Now I've shipped my documentation along with my code.
So your application also contains documentation.
Watch this.
That is so cool.
Something didn't work. So it's unresolved directives. So I didn't connect the dots, but this is where my documentation lives now.
Yes.
So I've got something configured where it's not connecting the dots with our images. So let's go take a look. But you get the point. We're taking that documentation that we just generated. We want to ship it with our code. We want to have it available. It could be on the /docs endpoint. It could be anywhere, but we want it to be with the code so that our docs match our tests, match our code, and everything is good. So when somebody comes in and asks, like, hey, what does that 204 mean? What does that 404 mean? Does it mean the endpoint's not there or the entity's not there? We can provide it. So let's see what's happening. Let's see if we can figure out what's wrong. Let's go back here. It says unresolved directive. It couldn't find the snippets template. So I did something wrong.
So what I like to do is add a little bit of Maven magic that tells the ADOC compiler where snippets is. That way it won't give us the directive error.
Okay, what did you do?
So head over to your POM.
Okay.
In the POM, it's pointing towards the build plugin for ASCII Doctor, and there is a configuration attribute called snippets, which points to a directory called snippets under the target directory.
Oh, and it's generated snippets.
Right.
So I need to change that?
Change that, yeah.
All right. Let's do that again.
That was an issue that I had wondered about
over here
for a minute as well. ChatGPT did not tell me how to do that.
That's up. Can I ask something about Spring Data API? Yes. We're here for you. Nothing that we're doing matters. What you're doing is what's important. Ask your questions. Any Spring Boot microservice demo project created by Spring Team, which is close to real-time projects.
Like real-time streaming?
Like real-time?
Real-time embedded? Explain real-time.
Yep, keep going. So our app is running. Let's go see if our things are fixed. Still not.
No?
Why? Oh, wait, hold on. Did we do that right? We're gonna fix this, and then we're gonna get out of here. And redo all things. And Kadir says, I think this is a good segue to my question. What is your question? Ask away. We are here to help. Let's go. Did that help?
Refresh.
Oh, wait. Oh, well, we broke it.
Well, now what happened?
So that we really broke it.
Oh.
And our
we did something worse. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that didn't work. So let's go back. Did
you do MVM clean?
It did.
And then Spring Boot run?
Yeah.
The target directory is empty. That's why I was asking. It had just a couple of files in it.
Oh, hold on. Let's wait. Let's fix that. Now, the nice thing is, do that. Ask Doctor plugin knew where they were. Let's do this again in package. See if we get what we're hoping for. But yeah, absolutely. Ask your questions, guys. If you still got questions, we've got some time here.
I'm curious about this JPA question.
Yeah, what is it? So, okay, now we got our stuff. And now let's take a look.
Oh, there you are.
Boom. Oh, we're getting closer. Unresolved directive include. Oh, I did something.
Oh, I think there's 2 P's in the HTTP PIE request.
I broke something.
Could be.
We're going to get there. We're going to get this. That we didn't. That way. Here's what it'll look like. Why didn't that work? Oh, maybe because it was broken. Let's just try it one more time. All right. Question. Oh yeah. How can we integrate? So while this is going, let me see if I can find the example that I was thinking about. I have a Vaadin project that I worked on over the week. Let me find it. And in that project, I'm pulling in, I don't remember what it's called. So it's one of these. I got a few projects that I worked on. Please hold.
I'll send something real quick. Oh my Lord. It's doing it.
The front end Maven plugin. This is what you're looking for. Here we go. So this is for Kadir. I'm going to hide the question here. So this is an example. I'm not a front end guy, but sometimes I get these projects where like, hey, you got to do some front end stuff. I don't have NPM installed on my box. I don't have Node installed, but I need it to do this front end, to build this React app or this Angular app or whatever it is. So here's the plugin that I use. It's the front end Maven plugin. I think this is the latest version. And it's got these different things where I can go and set up those front end build processes. So in this project, as you may or may not be able to see over here, we've got some stuff. We've got a package JSON. We've got this front end thing that we need to package. And we're going to do the same thing like we just did. We're going to package it. We're going to throw it into that static directory, just like we're doing now, so that my front end is being served with my back end. My front end can be built in an entirely different path, an entirely different framework, but it can still be built using Maven or Gradle and packaged into my Spring Boot app. That's why those directories, those conventions for /static and public HTML, that's why they're there for those use cases. Hopefully that answers your question. I think that this runner Z whip might be private. I will make one of these bottom projects that does that. I'll make that public later today. Hopefully that helped. By live project, I mean any project that's up and running on the internet and code is open for us to understand how integration between different microservices happen in real time. No, but there are plenty of projects that you can go and stand up with something like Docker Compose and to see the interaction and to see some of the other features that Spring Framework 6 and Spring Boot 3 have integrated for you, like the observability. We've got some new patterns and some new things that are baked in so that you can do distributed tracing across your application. So you have service A. Let's go and draw a quick picture. I understand what you're saying. Like, hey, I've got these things. I'm going to draw a different one. I've got my gateway. Got a service. I got a service. I've got some other system.
Call it Kafka.
Right. And this is your chance. Abhishek, this is your chance to tell us where you're trying to go with this, because I want to build this for you. I want to help you get over this hurdle and understand what's happening with Spring. So we've got a system, this gateway that routes traffic between a couple of different services. And you don't know where the problem is, right? Hey, maybe this service is writing something to Kafka. Maybe it's this service that's writing something to Kafka, or calling some other service and getting something back. How do you know in a distributed system where the problem is? If I get an exception, if I get a 404 or 405 up here, how do I know where that problem was caused? Was it passed up? I believe that that's where you're trying to go. You want to understand the nuts and bolts in Spring Boot 3, with all of its other benefits that we've done, or that the Spring team has done, to bring observability in as kind of a first class thing instead of waiting till the end. Makes it really easy for you to do these types of things. So if there is a problem somewhere down the line, you can actually see that your user call went to the gateway, and then it went to service A, and then it went down to Kafka, and you can actually see if there's a bottleneck or if there's an exception along the way. So if you've got some pattern that you would like to see an example of, I'd be happy to build that for you and deliver something that, using the technologies that you want to use. Describe it, send it to me on Twitter, use hashtag Spring Office Hours, so that we can all see it. Spring Office Hours. Send it to Twitter, put it on Stack Overflow, send me an email, and I'd be happy to help. I really appreciate you asking questions. I need to know where you're at so I can help you.
That's a really good question.
We can make it happen. Kadir, I'm glad. I'm glad that we're doing stuff, getting you on the right track. We are so close. We're a little bit over time. I hope you guys don't mind. I appreciate you all for sticking around. I absolutely do. But let's see if we can get back and fix the last problem. We'll call it good. I promise. We'll call it good if we can get our images to line up. Did it work? Hey, this is here. Our app is up and running. Let's refresh. Oh, we're so close. We are so close. What is the problem here? I'm sure it's something to do with the path of our images. Let's see what our DevTools says. Again, part of the value of this show is that we can boot folks, and we want to show you how we debug, right? We didn't do this ahead of time. I have never done this work. We're answering questions along the way, but this is how we debug. These are the tools that I use. And this is saying, hey, this file's not here. So it's looking for images for some reason. It's looking for images, Spring Office Hours blank. Why is it looking for images?
Possibly the image is probably looking in its default folder called images.
Yeah, so easy way to fix that would be to say,
put them into images.
Yeah, I just do this, right? Make a new directory. Because we're just going to follow the conventions, right?
Yeah.
And that's probably a convention.
That's definitely that's what I use, at least in Hugo.
Yeah. So let's run it one more time. We're doing it live. Yep. Look at Morpheus. He knows exactly what we're doing.
Yup.
He's like, yes, it's ASCII-Doc attributes. And Abhishek, yes, send it. I am happy to help. And Glocker 102, I was using this front-end Maven plugin and have big problems to compare it. Share with us. Let us help you. I want to help. I'm using this other project. I will get that other project. So this is my reminder. Get that other Vaadin project. And it's using the pre-release of the latest version of Vaadin. But
hey, can you talk about Vaadin in your next thing? Because I'm trying to do some UI, and I found either I can go the React route and just create a React view and include it, but then I don't want to have to learn like managing React later on. And I know Vaadin is a Java native, like view templating, right?
Hey guys, we did it. Look where we're at. We have our service up and running. We've provided documentation on how to use our service, and we've shown what it looks like when you make that call. We grab that output. I do have an echo. I don't know why, how that happened. I apologize at the end of the show.
I can't hear it.
Oh, I know what it is. It was my thing went dead. I think I can close this and not have the echo. It's still doing it. Here we go. We're customizing. This is, hey, if you pass in test banner, this is what's going to look like. And this goes out with our application. When I package my application, that is included with it. So there's no gap between what my docs say and what's actually happening. We've all been there where the doc says one thing and the service is doing another. We've all been there. This is how you avoid that with Spring REST docs. And we didn't do a whole lot. We've done a lot of talking. We've done a lot of level setting and explaining. But the amount of code to get us from just having a REST API, and this does some stuff. We had some stuff that we copied and pasted from the other project. But the amount of code to get us from here to having docs, it really wasn't that big with Leap. And this is really just tests. Even take away the documentation part. If you're writing tests, the leap to go from tests to documentation is even tinier. That's where I'm at today. Man, I had fun. I appreciate it. Mario, we got to do this again. We have to do this again real soon. What do you think?
Let's do this again. Let's let our friend drive a little bit. We have to integrate our friend, since I think our friend is going to be very prominent. Like,
yeah, I mean, if nothing else, like, hey, yeah, they can all, the audience can do the chat GPT. We can be here, we can answer, we can bring our experience to the conversation. But that was fun. I liked that part of what we did here today. It was fun. We answered questions. We validated our top of mind responses. I was happy, and we saw it work. We saw that it could do a lot of the things for us out of the box. Who wants to waste time? Like, it's a tool, it's in our tool belt, let's use it. So yeah, let's have fun with it. I will say, we talked about it yesterday on Spring Ops Hours. There's going to be a lot of really exciting things out of the Spring ecosystem, the Spring community around ML and AI and all the things. I'm hearing things from the community. I'm hearing things, and I've got my own feelings, and I'm going down that path as well. I think it's going to be a really exciting year. 2023, we got it kicked off. We got we brought code back, and I'm looking forward to doing much more.
We have a lot of developing to do.
We have a lot of developing to do. Code. So let's do it. Let's do it. Let's get it out. Let's see if we can help our community and our friends get on block, because the stuff they're going to do is going to be in production. It's going to be in the devices that we use and the websites that we go to. Like, we got to get them unstuck. Like, these demos, they can wait. Let's make sure that everybody else is getting unstuck, and let's see if we can deliver some more code examples, some other like deep technical things that might find valuable. I would love to do 50 episodes of code this year. That's a lot.
50 episodes this year?
50 episodes this year. There's 52 weeks in the year. We might have to double up a few times. But now my boss, my real boss, is letting me know that, hey, it's time. So I've got to shut it down.
Oh.
Everybody, thank you so much. I do hope to see you next week. RESTdocs, WebFlux will be too nice. Next time we can do it, with WebFlux. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Mario, thank you so much for joining me.
There is a good amount of documentation on RESTdocs and WebFlux as well.
Yes, we can make it happen.
It's basically the same thing, only with a different client.
Yep, we'll do it.
Cool.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, so much.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Peace.